My fiancée's parents told me to pay off their mortgage if I wanted to marry her, so I smiled, and what I uncovered shattered their perfect family facade. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Lauren introduced me to her parents over dinner at their home. James was charming, Patricia attentive. They asked about my salary, investments, and future plans within 10 minutes. I thought they were just curious. Lauren laughed it off when I mentioned it later. They're just planners, she said. But the way James clinked his glass whenever money came up, it stuck with me. Something felt rehearsed, like they'd done this before. A week later, Patricia handed me a binder labeled Whitaker Traditions. Inside were photos of past weddings, family recipes, and a section on financial honor. It outlined how sons-in-law historically supported the bride's family with pride. Lauren brushed it off as a joke, saying her mom was a little old-fashioned. I nodded, trying to believe her, but that phrase financial honor kept echoing in my head, like a warning disguised as heritage. James texted me a spreadsheet titled Pre-Wedding Financial Forecast. It detailed monthly contributions to their mortgage, car payments, and even vacation funds. I laughed, thinking it was a prank, but Patricia followed up with a serious email about expectations. Lauren remained quiet. When I asked her directly, she just said, "It's part of being family." My stomach sank. I wasn't marrying a woman, I was onboarding into a company with hidden liabilities. At brunch, Patricia pulled out old bank statements and slipped them into my lap. "Just so you understand the context," she whispered. James toasted me as the financial backbone of the next generation. I clenched my fork until it bent. Warren joked about how intense they were, but avoided eye contact. Melissa, my coworker, later asked why I looked pale. I shrugged. I didn't have the words for what manipulation dressed as tradition felt like. James began calling me during work hours, asking about wire transfers and joint accounts. He always framed it as family logistics. When I hesitated, he'd remind me that trust meant action. I confided in my dad Henry, who frowned and said, "That's not family. That's extortion with a dinner napkin." Lauren accused me of making her choose. I wanted to believe she didn't know, but deep down, I feared she was just used to it. One night, Patricia cornered me in the kitchen. She said, "Every man in this family pays his dues. Don't be the exception." Her tone was sweet, but her eyes were cold. I stood frozen, mug in hand. Warren walked in, sensed the tension, and changed the subject. Later, I asked her again, was this normal? She sighed. "They mean well, they just didn't expect things." I felt like I was slipping into a contract without consent. Melissa noticed my mood swings and offered to talk over lunch. I vented, describing the Whitakers' demands. She said it sounded like financial grooming. That phrase hit me hard. I googled it later and the signs matched. I brought it up to Lauren. She said Melissa was just jealous and didn't understand family loyalty. My throat tightened. Loyalty shouldn't feel like leverage. Yet each week brought new hints: vacation requests, budget talks, inheritance whispers. James called it a family roundtable, but it felt like a shareholder meeting. Charts, graphs, his voice booming about mutual investment. Patricia handed me a pen. "Sign here, good faith," she said. It wasn't legally binding, but it was symbolic and they knew it. I faked a phone call to leave. Warren later texted, "Just humor them, okay?" My chest felt tight. I wasn't just being welcomed, I was being absorbed, like an asset, not a person. Henry pulled me aside after dinner at our place. "This feels wrong," he said. I nodded. He urged me to document everything. They'd addressing theft and family lace. He warned. I started saving emails, photos, notes. When I told Lauren, she said I was being paranoid and asked me to stop. Her voice was tight, eyes watery but no denial. That night, I made copies and hid it up in my sock drawer. Melissa handed me a folder one morning, printouts of Lauren's Pinterest boards. Vacation homes, luxury weddings, high-end renovations, all tagged Dream Life. I asked Melissa where she got them. Shared from Lauren's public account, she said. My chest hollowed. It wasn't just the Whitakers, it was Lauren too. She wasn't unaware. She was aligned. I stared at the vision board and realized this was never about love. It was about building a castle with my paycheck as foundation. I confronted Lauren in her car. Engine running, I held the folder with printouts and USB evidence. "Tell me it's not true," I asked. Her face tightened. "They want security," she said. "You can give that," I whispered. "I'm not your savings plan." She said nothing. My voice cracked. "Do you even love me?" Her silence screamed louder than words. I got out, slammed the door, and walked into the night. Folder in hand, future in ruins. Lauren showed up the next day with James. They sat across from me at the kitchen table. James said, "You're overreacting." I placed the folder between us. Patricia joined via speakerphone. "It's just tradition," she chimed. I raised my voice. "It's manipulation," Lauren cried. James called me ungrateful. I pushed the folder toward them. "We're done," James scoffed. Lauren reached for my hand. I pulled back. "This isn't love, it's extortion with wedding photos." I walked out. Henry found me at a bar that night. "Drink untouched, you did the right thing," he said. I nodded, fighting tears. He handed me a small notebook. "Write it all your side, protect yourself." I started journaling everything: dates, names, phrases. "Melissa texted you good," I replied with a photo of the USB. "Not broken," I typed. That night, I locked the folder in my safe. I wasn't sure what came next, but I was prepared. Patricia called days later. "Boy therapy. You broke Lauren's heart," she said. "There's still time to fix this." I said nothing, then calmly, "There's nothing to fix. Only truths to face." She went quiet. "We'll talk soon," she replied coldly. I hung up and blocked the number. That was the moment I felt something crack, not pain but relief. The illusion of family shattered. For the first time, I saw clearly love without respect is theater. Melissa messaged me a screenshot Patricia had posted on Facebook, calling me a manipulator who used Lauren and ran. Her friends were commenting, sharing, fueling it. My jaw tightened. This wasn't over, it was war pre-style. I made a burner account, collected screenshots. Archived posts. Henry warned me, "They'll bury you in public sympathy." I nodded. "Then I'll bury them in proof." I started drafting a timeline. This was no longer about a breakup, it was defense. Melissa printed everything, time-stamped it, labeled, "We need a neutral party." She said. I emailed my company's legal advisor. He replied, "Document. Don't engage publicly." But James wasn't subtle. He showed up at my office building, demanding to talk. Security escorted him out. Melissa filmed it. That clip became my insurance. Lauren still had spoken. Her silence was louder than the smear campaign. Each post they made was now evidence, not attack. I waited for their next move. James filed a small claims case for emotional damages. The hearing date was set. Henry laughed bitterly. "They think court will scare you." I prepped every document, lined up my witnesses: Melissa, my manager, even a friend of Lauren's who had doubts. The courtroom was tiny, but the tension massive. James wore a smug grin. Patricia cried on cue. I stayed silent, calm. When the judge asked for evidence, I opened the folder. It was time. The judge flipped through screenshots, emails, and bank drafts. Melissa's video played next. James yelling at security. Patricia's posts, printed in color, highlighted in yellow. Warren's Pinterest boards displayed on the projector. James fidgeted. Patricia stared at the floor. The judge asked, why were these financial requests made before any marriage? They had no answer. I didn't smile. I just watched their performance collapse. This wasn't justice yet, but it was the first real crack. Lauren finally texted. I didn't know it would go this far. I stared at the screen. Her words were hollow. Too late. I replied with a single sentence. You stood by them. She never answered. Henry called it closure. Melissa called it survival. I called it truth. That moment was my release. No more what ifs, just clarity. I deleted the thread. My future had no room for ghosts pretending they were family. A fake GoFundMe appeared titled Healing from Betrayal. James and Patricia posted it, using a photo of Lauren crying. They claimed I'd left her heartbroken and in debt. Melissa flagged it. Henry blew up. I contacted the platform with documents. Within 24 hours, it was removed for fraud, but not before raising over $500. People believed them. That stung, but exposure was building. Each lie added a brick to the wall I was tearing down. Melissa discovered Patricia's email trail messages to Lauren, titled Timeline for Full Withdrawal. They discussed moving large sums post-wedding, secure the mortgage first, then escalate. One said, I printed everything. Added it to my binder. When I showed Henry, he cursed under his breath. They had a plan, not just hopes, a blueprint. I nodded. This wasn't family manipulation anymore. It was financial entrapment, executed with smiles, and I'd nearly signed into it willingly. The Whitakers hosted a healing brunch, inviting mutual friends and subtly shaming me through speeches. I wasn't there, but someone live streamed it. Patricia said, some people abandon responsibility when it's too hard. James added, he was never one of us. I saved the video. The comments were mixed. Some saw through it, others didn't. But now I had their hypocrisy on camera. Public image was their weapon, but truth was mine. The tide was turning slowly. A mutual friend forwarded me a group chat. Lauren vending. He was supposed to take care of us. That was the plan. Another chimed in. He wasn't strong enough. My chest tightened. I hadn't imagined it. It wasn't miscommunication. It was entitlement dressed as expectation. I added the screenshots to my archive. That night, I emailed a digital journalist with everything. If they wanted public opinion, I'd meet them there with facts, not fake tears. The journalist replied, this is deep, let's talk. We scheduled a call. I laid it all out, documents, recordings, messages. They listened, shocked. Do you want your name on this? They asked. I paused. Yes, I'm done hiding. The story ran under the headline, Groomed to Be uncovers family Ponzi marriage plot. It went viral overnight. Comments flooded and some in disbelief, others with similar tales. I wasn't alone. I'd ripped off their mask and lit it on fire. The fallout hit fast. James lost consulting clients. Patricia's charity board quietly removed her name. Their brunch club disbanded. Lauren deleted her accounts. I watched it unfold with eerie calm. Henry poured whiskey and raised a glass. To sunlight, the best disinfectant. Melissa laughed. You broke the illusion. I didn't gloat, just felt relief. The house of cards collapsed. Not because I pushed, but because they built it on deception and underestimated the strength of quiet resistance. Lauren emailed me one last time. No apology, just regret. We couldn't have it all, she wrote. I almost replied, almost, but I closed the browser and opened my journal instead. I wrote, silence isn't forgiveness, it's self-respect. I showed Melissa, who nodded. That's your ending. Henry framed the headline for me. Hung it in my office. I never needed revenge, just a clear record. And now finally, a clean slate. Their silence would write my piece. A local podcast reached out. Want to share the full story? They asked. I agreed. 2 weeks later, I sat in front of a mic. Voice steady. I didn't rant. I documented. I spoke for others, those gaslit, guilted, manipulated under family values. Melissa sat nearby, nodding with each word. When the episode dropped, messages poured in. I lived this. Thank you. My voice wasn't just survival. It became a beacon. Truth didn't just free me at Echo. Weeks passed. James emailed under a fake name, pretending to be a concerned friend seeking clarity. I traced the IP, confirmed it was him. Classic manipulation, anonymous bait, begging to rewrite the narrative. I archived it without reply. The Whitakers hadn't changed. They just changed tactics. But I had changed. The old me might have answered. Now I protect peace like currency. Not every attack needs a battle. Some lies die from neglect, and I let this one rot. Melissa and I walked past Lauren downtown. She froze. I kept walking. No nod, no glare, just nothing. Melissa whispered, she looks wrecked. I didn't turn around. That silence wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. I owed her no scene and no closure, just distance. After everything, court, lies, smear, this was the most powerful response, indifference. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. She chose her side. I built mine, and it had no room for ghosts of the past. An anonymous package arrived inside. The Whitaker Traditions binder. No note, just the weight of history they tried to trap me with. I tossed it in the trash. That night, I wrote a new page in my journal. Not all legacies deserve to live. Henry saw it, nodded. Sometimes survival means burning the blueprint. Melissa smiled. I finally felt free, not just from them, but from the story they tried to write me into without consent. A woman messaged me, stranger but familiar pain. I was nearly trapped too. Your story saved me. I read it twice. That was it. The final chapter. Not revenge, not validation, just knowing someone escaped because I spoke. Henry called it justice. Melissa called it ripple effect. I called it peace. That night I slept soundly. No nightmares, no regrets, just the hum of a life reclaimed. Not perfect, but finally, unmistakably, mine. I sat in my apartment. Silence thick but not heavy. For the first time in months, I felt alone and safe. No demands, no pressure, just me, and the echoes of a truth that nearly crushed me. I replayed it all in my mind. Not to suffer, but to remind myself I survived. And survival, in a world built to gaslight you, is nothing short of victory. Now when people ask why I'm single, I just say because I didn't sell my soul for a wedding. And that's the truth. I didn't lose love. I dodged a lifelong trap disguised as family. That's worth everything. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.